Let's talk about the week of June 7th. We're going to start with a high quality workout for the week of loaded steady state. For some of you, it's similar to what you did last week with the steady state followed by minute repeats or quarter mile repeats. This is similar, which is okay because it's a very good workout, but there are also some differences, and I'll point those out in the description of the workout. Make sure your warm up is good and appropriate. As the heat and humidity continue to increase, you might not feel like you need as much of a warm up, and maybe you don't in volume, but it's not just about getting your core body temperature up, because right now that's getting easier and easier. You might accomplish that just by stepping outside. We want to make sure you're also getting loose and gradually increasing how much oxygen you're consuming, so you're going up VO2 to where we jump into something like this and we're not having to increase by 10 or 15% of your maximum heart rate or your VO2. We want to be close to the effort level, and that's where the striders at the end of the easy running come in very handy to do that. So in the first segment, we're doing a 2-mile steady state for many of you, and we want to get to threshold as quickly as possible. For those of you coming to the group workout in Broad Ripple, I'm going to have a course set up that's going to enable you to get to steady state much quicker than if you did it on the flat. There's all the hint that you need. So we're going to do that. We're going to get to steady state as quickly as possible and start getting those stamina training benefits. Once we get to threshold and you hold it for 2 miles, we're going to go into 4 to 5 times minute on, minute off. And it is okay. I'm not sure I have this written properly in Training Peaks, but we definitely want to take a minute jog after the 2 mile steady state before you do the minute on, minute off, because that's going to make that first minute faster. So the minute on, minute off, they should be fast, they should be hard. We want to increase muscular tension. We want your heart rate going above threshold, but with that minute recovery jog at a super slow-mo pace, we're going to bring that back down and keep it under control. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump ahead in the steady state benefit for the second half by increasing those things. And we're also going to get some economy and some speed benefit from these minute on, minute off as well. And then when we get back to the second steady state, for some of you it might be a mile, for some of you it's 2. Probably not too many of you have more than 2 miles in the second steady state. But we're jumping ahead in the training effect for the actual mileage. So basically in 4 to 5 miles, for the bulk of you, we're getting a lot more than a 4 or 5 mile steady state benefit. And that's why we're loading the steady state with the minute on, minute off. And we're also touching on the economy and speed benefits. So that is the high quality workout for the week. The moderate quality workout for the week, you often will see the line strength training for runners. This is strength training exactly for runners, because it's strength training while you're running. And it's just 30, 60 hills. You're running up the hill for 30 seconds, you jog back down, ready to start again in the next 60 seconds. You can break these up depending on how long you have to go. For most of you, it's maybe 20 minutes, for some 30 minutes total, which, because 2/3 of the time is the recovery jog, it's not nearly as difficult as it sounds. But we're doing a lot of good stuff in this. And you don't have to go after these hills with great intensity and really attack them. Gravity has a way of making everything difficult. And as we've talked about many times, sometimes going up a hill slower is worse than going up fast because you're just there longer. But we're going to fire fast twitch fibers. We're going to work your neuromuscular system, not only in going up and having to recruit the muscle fibers to get up the hill, but also coming down and the eccentric contractions and coming down a little bit faster, even though we're looking more for recovery on the way down. The biomechanical benefits are great. You have to get your knee up or you're going to be scuffing your shoes and falling on your nose going up the hill. So we're having to get the knee up a little bit more. The stride might not be terribly long going up, but it's a powerful stride because you are going up, and coming down, your stride might be a little bit longer. And also the nature of this workout with double recovery time, you're going to have quick recovery not only between the hill repeats, but also from now until Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, we're back to a long run. And right now we have a great opportunity. I know I talk about this a lot, but I try to talk about the important things frequently. This is your lab. This is where you figure out how much hydration you need, what kind of fueling you need to stay strong. And let's say that we get to your goal race later in the fall and it's a beautiful day, it's 40 degrees, no wind, everything's perfect, everything lines up for you. I hope that happens. Even if that is the case, you need to know what you need in terms of hydration and fueling, and this is where you figure that out. I can give you great recommendations: 6 to 8 ounces every 20 to 30 minutes, 100 calories every basically 4 miles on race day after 6. And training, we want to stretch that out a lot more. In training, maybe you start at 8 miles, 9 miles, 10 miles, and then you take it every 4 or 5 miles. Because we want some of the training effect that comes when you don't have a steady supply of carbohydrate coming in. So I can give you those recommendations, but everybody's a little bit different. We have people that weigh 100 pounds, we have people that weigh 200 pounds or more. Those requirements are going to be different. Some people have a higher sweat rate, so that needs to be taken into account. So all of those things, now's the time you can figure that out. The shoes get a lot of excitement. They're making you faster, 4%, 8%, whatever it is. Another world record set today in Hengelo. So the times are falling. Certainly some of that is shoes, some of it's technology. There's a lot of factors into that. A huge factor that you can have on your side, and you have no excuse not to have it on your side because we have plenty of time to get ready. How much fuel, how much hydration do you need? This is the time to figure that out, okay? So that's what we're doing. When I look at a download, what I'm looking for, especially in the long run this time of year, I'm looking at heart rate. If you're using your heart rate monitor, if you have chest strap, great. If you have optical, I'm coming around on those a little bit. I'm still a little skeptical. I've been watching mine, and if I get it really tight and it's flat on my wrist, the numbers are okay. The instantaneous number isn't as good, but the average numbers are coming out and making sense when I look at the downloads and look at the average pace per mile, the average heart rate per mile. So if you want to try that, do it. But what I'm looking for is, when does the heart rate go up and the pace stays the same or gets slower? And the fancy new word for that is decoupling, where they diverge, and they shouldn't, because in theory, if you're running the same pace, it requires the same amount of oxygen, and we want to see those numbers very closely corresponding. When they don't, I know that you're dehydrated, especially if cadence remains the same or goes up. That cadence also tells me, are you done? Have your legs given out and it's over, or are you still fighting through this? So those are a couple of numbers I look for in the download. And specifically for hydration, I'm looking for, what's the heart rate doing in relationship to pace? So we can look at that, and that can be how we judge how you're doing on your lab work. And if that heart rate's going through the roof and you're slowing down 10 seconds a mile for the last 4 or 5 miles of a long run, we know you don't have it dialed in very well. Okay, so that's what we can look for. In close relationship to that, it's a good time to revisit Effort Dashboard, and you know we use Effort Dashboard rather than one thing. We don't believe in heart rate training or pace training or whatever. We believe in it all. So we want to think about pace. We want to think about perceived exertion. We want to think about respiratory rate or aerobic pressure. How hard are you breathing? Muscular tension, heart rate. And for some of you that are comfortable and are using wattage, we can keep an eye on that as well. With the weather change, maybe that dashboard and what you're really paying attention to will change. If you're dehydrated, that heart rate's going to go through the roof. Okay, stop thinking about heart rate now. That's from dehydration. That's why that's going up. So now think about, what's my muscular tension? How hard am I breathing? And you can kind of redirect your focus on that Effort Dashboard. And if you do a good job of that, and the reason we use this to begin with is to make sure you're getting the most training effect out of each workout that you're doing. So keep all of those things in mind. So there's your week. Hopefully you have a good one, and I hope to see many of you either on Tuesday in Broad Ripple or Saturday at Eagle Creek. See you soon.